Ever since I was a small boy and first read the book by Colonel Patterson, The Man-Eaters of Tsavo, and also watched television programmes by Armand and Michaela Dennis, as well as, of course, David Attenborough, I've longed to visit Africa. Finally, in 2022, I got to fulfil that dream. We took a holiday with Riviera Travel, a company we've used on a number of occasions, for a 2-week holiday to South Africa, which would also take in the Kruger Game Reserve. I've already made 3 videos of the visit to the Kruger, so this video does not include that. This is all about the rest of the holiday. We flew from Heathrow on the 21st of September and stopped on the way to change planes at Doha in Qatar, after which we flew on down over the plains of Africa to Johannesburg. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the 21st September when we took off from Heathrow, a long flight including that brief stop at Doha, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning when we finally touched down at Johannesburg and went to collect our luggage. It's Thursday, the 22nd of September, the first, I'll call it the proper day of our holiday. Our South African holiday. We're with Riviera Travel. We flew from Heathrow yesterday at leaving in the early afternoon, and we arrived at Johannesburg after a stop at Doha in Qatar. We arrived here in Johannesburg at just 10 o'clock this morning. Once we'd sorted everything out with getting our luggage and everything else, got on the coach, and we've come first of all to the Apartheid Museum here in Johannesburg, and I'm not allowed to use the camera inside the museum, but I have taken a few photographs outside. From here we'll be going on to our hotel, and really the holiday gets into full swing. It was in the grounds of the museum that we had our first sight of African wildlife with these delightful weaver birds. It was then on to the Indaba Hotel on the outskirts of Johannesburg, where we saw some more African wildlife, in this case ibis. There were a number flying around with their distinctive call, and this delightful couple up on the roof. That evening, a number of us went to the Chief's Boma restaurant in the grounds of the hotel. It was a great opportunity to meet our fellow holidaymakers, and there was this birthday party going on as well. Then the next day was a long day of coach travel as we made our way up to where we would stay for our visit to the Kruger. We broke the coach journey briefly at the Rose Cottage for lunch, and I have to say it was an excellent meal. Again, another opportunity to meet more of our fellow holidaymakers. I must confess I'm not the greatest fan of long coach trips, but it did give us a great opportunity to see the countryside, which is so different to what we're used to in the UK. And then we arrived at the Blythe River Canyon. This, I understand, is the 3rd deepest canyon in the world, and certainly offered some spectacular views. After our visit to the canyon, we were on to the Hippo Hollow country estate, which we would stay at for the next couple of days, which was when we would visit the Kruger. Of course, that features as a little trilogy of videos I've already made. And so, after 2 days on the Kruger Game Reserve, which for me was one of the highlights of the holiday, it was on to the Zulu battlefields. We arrived after another very long day in the coach at sunset at the Battlefields Lodge in Dundee, and from there we would go on to visit the following day the battlefields of Isandlwana and Rorke's Drift.
The church was built as a memorial for all those men of the 24th who fell at Isandlwana and Rorke's Drift, 22nd and 23rd of January 1879. Mackenzie died in 1890 and he is buried in the church cemetery just below there.
And today we've come to the battlefields, the Zulu War battlefields, where the British Army fought against the Zulu and lost on the first occasion at Isandlwana, and that's where we are right now. And then we'll be going on to Rorke's Drift, the very famous site of Zulu.
What do you reckon that's for? Is that the bell of the church? Yeah.
At this stage we were joined by a gentleman called Dalton, who is a Zulu, and he gave us a presentation about what took place at Isandlwana and at Rorke's Drift, and explained what led up to the battles and how the battles actually evolved.
Very good. One, we talk about the Zulu Wars of 1879. From the 11th of January to the 4th of July, between the Zulus and the British, there were 8 battles. The two chasing each other day and night. No rest. But as of today, we only do these two, Isandlwana and Rorke's Drift. And after this, we are going to get some time to walk around the battlefield. Their job is to cook for the royal house. Remember, some of the men spend most of their time with the king, as the members of the king's council. Very strong army, chasing them down. Wherever the girls are found, their fathers, what is very sad, what we call the fugitives trail. They couldn't use the same road straight to Rorke's Drift because of the Zulu sitting down there.
From Isandlwana to Rorke's Drift was a very short coach ride. It's only a few miles, and it took us across the river where in the film Zulu we see the British Army building the bridge immediately before the attack. Well, now we are actually at Rorke's Drift. This is not the location where they made the film because filming was not allowed here. We have seen or been pointed out where the film set was based, which is quite a little way from here, but we could see it from when we were at Isandlwana. But this is the actual location of Rorke's Drift, which we're now going to walk around. And here's Dalton, who's been talking to us and giving us an excellent presentation. Having watched the film so many times and really enjoying it, I found it very moving to come to this location, the real location of the incident at Rorke's Drift.
Therefore, the defense of Rock Street was carried out successfully by a handful of Queen Victoria soldiers, less than 150 men. Therefore, 11 Victoria Crosses were awarded, plus the 5 distinguished honor medals. We don't have enough time to load all this. And also, if we try
That is the building that was the hospital in the real incident.
You know what? Inside our stores, we've got lots of millet bags. Let's take them out and find the millet back from inside.
The river was down there, or is still down there.
Therefore, today, we've got these 2 buildings. In front of that one is the museum. There's a line of stones starting from the
This
front
is the
corner all
chapel
way past those
where
all the way
the
to
doctor,
corner of the Catholic cross.
the medic, looked after the wounded during Zulu.
We come back here, here they go, to the corner of this building, which is the museum.
This
Therefore,
is
fighting would
the
take place
actual
inside
location.
this. And something like a size of a soccer field each other. Therefore, lots of problems. People are stealing from each other. One had to keep his own keys, you know. So that's why they are destroying the walls, so that they are able to move their sick and wounded from this room to the next one through those holes. Luckily, as they are working on the walls were not very hard. The whole thing was made from mud bricks. But each time they are smashing the walls, lots of dust falling on top of the sick and wounded. Nobody tells them what's going on, but some of them become very suspicious. What the hell is going on? But some of them had no idea because they are broken necks, bad tummies, broken ankles, whatever.
So that's another view of the hospital, where of course the roof caught fire, which is perfectly true, the way it was depicted in the film. And behind there is the mission building or church building, which was used as the hospital during the battle. This is the site, and then coming in on the right are the heights from where the Zulu initially attacked. It's been a very moving experience to come to this incredible location where so many Victoria Crosses were awarded, the most for any one single military action.